they were at the same school, Red House, and we'd go off by bus, 7 miles. Bus took about half an hour. It seemed a lot longer. Red House was again a little prep school. I really was interested in all it had to offer. I played a lot of games, soccer, cricket, hockey, and we invented our own game of a little mini cricket which we play endlessly. And we also had plays which we did. one of the plays was something to do with a couple who had landed and were abandoned in the Himalayas somewhere. The Green Goddess it was called. And I was one of the priests of the Green Goddess, but the Green Goddess herself was played by a chap who we called Monkey Mennel. And we just couldn't stop laughing when Monkey Mennel came on, because I think he had a bit of a stutter as well. So it was a bit hopeless. We tried to hide our sniggering. So it was probably a pretty pathetic play altogether.
And what were your thoughts of leaving Australia?
I felt...
You just took it in your stride, or...?
No, I felt a great affinity for Australia, and I felt myself half Australian. Been there for 4.5 years, got relations there, and felt bedded in there, so to speak. So it took me quite a while to reorientate myself, and for the first few years I was there, I usually took Australia's part. They were usually winning at that stage anyway, with Don Bradman.
And had your accent shifted back, or did you have a...
Yes, no, I soon got a neutral accent. And in fact, that's what I've been very good at ever since. Amalgamating or trying to get alongside people's accent. So I can do a lot of accents, and somebody would come to the door, for instance, when I was staying with James in Birmingham, and I would say, "Oh, hello, Harold." And he would say, "Oh, hello, Timothy, nice to see you." And all this sort of thing. And I did it almost subconsciously. So, having lived in many parts of the world, I can do many different type accents.
So what were your parents doing back there?
Well, they didn't do much. I mean, they went back to Singapore for the first few years.
Oh, you're on your own.
And we were on my own with Susan, coming back from holidays. She went to school at St Mary's Khan, and I was destined to go down to Marlborough and the Sons of Clergy school, and no doubt Dad got a healthy discount.
So that was when?
That was in 1949. But at Red House, my greatest friend was a chap called Fred Ingalls. And Fred's father was a Dr. Ingalls in ICI in Bellingham. And I'd spend weekends with him, and he was a good sportsman. We played a lot of games together, had a lot of fun. And he eventually went to Arundel, I went to Marlborough. Met up with him again at Cambridge after National Service. But by that stage we'd grown apart, and I often wonder how Fred is and how he developed. I looked him up on a website and found he was living down in Bristol, somewhere near Bristol. So I mean to go and see him and call on him, giving him advance notice. Probably be terribly disappointed, but I'd like to share some of those old memories. We used to do silly things, like we would capture the market in these sticks, these little matchsticks which flare up and have green and red flares. And we'd buy them all up, and come November the 5th, there wouldn't be any in the market, and we would have the lot and we would sell them. And we also, in luminous paint, we would paint little sketches of skeletons, and we'd show them to the girls in a cupboard and try and sell them for threepence or twopence or whatever we could get. So that was another little interesting wheeze we got up to.
So did your parents ever come back and visit during this period?
They did, but it tended to be they left in '46 and came back. I think at the end of '47 or '48. So,
And what correspondence or communications did you have?
well, I'd write an aerogram to them once every other week. We'd get letters from them. And they came back. Dad was appointed Dean of Manchester, and he came back in 1949, which was when I was due to go to Marlborough. I had to take the entrance exam. I was fairly scared about this. It was a scholarship paper. I didn't get the scholarship, but I didn't have to take common entrance. So I guess that was something. One of the memories which has stuck with me was there were a group of us who had parents overseas who were boarding. There were only about 5 of us.
This is Red House.
At Red House, yeah. And we stayed the weekend, most weekends we stayed in the rector of Norton-on-Tees house. He had a lovely house. We stayed in the attic. And we would go for breakfast to the Red House School and breakfast, and it was it was still rationing on, so there were pretty meagre rations. And I can remember the maths master, Gunson his name was, and he would take us for breakfast, and he would have a piece of toast, and he would have nothing on his piece of toast, and the next piece of toast he would have it full of butter and marmalade. Now that has sort of stuck with me. That philosophy has stuck with me.
Explain what was going on.
I don't know. I think it was just, I can have some serious times when I deprive myself, as long as I have the big fat times when I indulge myself. Now that even worked when I was at school, a boarding school at Tudor House. And what I would do sometimes is, on a cold night, I would throw all my bedclothes off, count to 100 and put a sheet on, count to 100 and put a first blanket on, count to another 100 and put a second blanket on. I got to know how to count to 100 pretty well.
This was to appreciate the layers of warmth.
The layers of warmth. So I don't know why I did that, but that was something strange I did. Anyway, that brings me up, I think, to Marlborough, really.
Let's stop.